Hello everyone. Today we are going to be talking about user roles. The user roles in i21 are very powerful and control everything from menu visibility to screen and control permissions. You can get to the user roles from the System Manager module. When you select the user roles, it will open up a screen listing all of the existing roles. You can click New to add a new role. In this case, we're going to open an existing role. Now, every role has a name. These names can be assigned to your users. The role type allows two selections. You can either be an administrator or a user. The primary difference between the two is the administrator will give you access to this System Manager module. So if you select user as a role type, you will never see the System Manager. Okay, the menu layout allows you to control what you see in the menus. For example, see these menus in here for each module I can select and open. If I wanted to hide a couple of these or just remove them from the menu, you do this from the menu layout. So let's go into General Ledger and let's uncheck a few of these, which basically means you're going to hide them. So I will unselect some of these and I'm going to just leave General Journals and Audit Adjustment for now. So now I'll save the role. Now this particular role is assigned to my user account right now, so this is going to affect me. Now in order to see these changes though, you're going to notice when I click on here, I still see all these menus. In order to see these changes, I have to actually log out and log back in, or at least refresh the browser. So let me do that. This will take a second to log us back in, and then we will be able to see that it should update the General Ledger menu to hide all those other modules or menus. So you can see they're all disappeared except for the two here that we left. Okay, so now to show them back or bring them back again, I go back to user roles, I select admin, come back into menu layout, and a fast way to do this instead of checking them would be to just click this select all. Now this selects every one of the menus. So if you wanted to quickly highlight them all, or you could do the opposite and clear them all if you only wanted to show a couple for a particular role, you can do that with these two buttons. And again, let me save this. It's going to update the role and apply it to all of the users that have this role name assigned to them. You can actually see that by clicking this Users tab. So you can see all these users here are affected by the changes I'm making right now. Okay, so let me close this, and one more time, let me refresh the browser to update the menus. And now I should see all the menus again for General Ledger. All right, the next thing we want to talk about are the screen permissions. So let's go back into the user role and select the screen permission tab. Now here, this allows you to add any screen from the i21 menu. So let's take General Journal and let me search for another one, GL Account Detail, and put these in the grid. Now there are several permissions you can have for a screen. One is no access, which basically prevents you from opening the screen. Another is view only, which allows you to open the screen, but you can only view the data. It'll be read only. You can also add only. In other words, you can add new records, but you cannot see existing records. Or I can do a combination of both. I can view existing records read only, or I can add new records. Or I can edit and do anything I want with the record, but I can't delete it. So that's the permission options. So let's say I want view only for the journal, and we'll leave no access for the GL account detail. And we're going to save this off. Now, when this is finished saving, it'll say all the roles have been updated successfully. Now, this is real time. This particular tab is real time, unlike the menu layout where you have to first log out and log in to see the change. The screen and control permissions are real time. So what happened now is all the users that have this role, which are listed in this user tab, have been affected by the change I just made. So let's go over to the General Ledger now and see how this works. All right, so let's select the General Journal. And this one's unposted, so I should normally have full access to all the data, but you'll see it's grayed out and read only. I can view it, but if I click in a field, I type, nothing happens. Most of the buttons at the top are also grayed out. So that basically you can't do anything but look at the data. Now let's select the GL account detail screen, and you'll notice when I do that, I receive this message that I have no access to that screen. So that's how the permissions work in the screens. You can do this for any module, any screen throughout the entire application. You have full control of how that all works. All right, let me delete this and reset this so that we can get access back to the journal screen. All right. Let's verify that the screen permissions have been removed. So let's select the general journal, open it, same record. And this time you'll notice all the data is editable and all of the buttons are available as well. Let's go back and also make sure the GL account detail screen opens, which it does. Now let's talk about the control permissions. Similar to the screen permissions, you click the Add button to add new controls. Now, there's over 16,000 controls throughout the application. And when we talk about controls, this means anything on the screen, whether it be a button, a tab, combo boxes, drop-down boxes, text boxes, grids, anything like that is considered a control. So let's say we wanted to remove or set some permissions for the journal screen. So first thing I'll do is I'll filter. We have some filter fields set up conveniently up here to get this list narrowed down because there's just too many to scroll through. And in the journal, I want to, let's say I want to do something with the delete button, the duplicate, the post button, and let's see what else. Let's grab the currency combo box, the reverse date, and let's get one more, the description. Okay, now let's select those and add them to our grid. Okay, let's talk about the permissions for controls. They're a little different than the screen. Basically, you have it allowed to be editable. In other words, that control can be editable and do whatever you want. The reason this is in here is because we also have another field here called required. Let's say for some reason this currency field we don't require, or the date or something like that, or description, and you want it to be required. You'd have to come in here and select required. Now that'll override our system required fields and force another field that you pick to be required. And in that case, you're going to need to have the permission to be editable. So that's the reason we have the editable field for a permission. Disabled will be very similar to read only or view only. You can only see the data, but you won't be able to make any changes to it. Hide will completely remove the control, whether it's a tab, a button, a field, it doesn't matter. It'll just take it off the screen. You won't even see it. And bypass is really handy for generally fields. When you're tabbing through with the tab key, you can navigate through each field. Let's say there's a certain field, like this reverse date, for example. I typically don't use very often, so let's bypass it, but I may need to use it once in a while, and I'll just use my mouse to get into it if I have to make a change. Let's go to currency, and I'm going to make this hidden. I don't use currency, so let me just get rid of that off the screen. And description, I'm going to disable it to show you how that works. The post button, I want to hide. I don't even want that to be visible. And the duplicate button, I want disabled. And I also want the delete button disabled. So disabled and hide on the buttons, it can kind of go two ways. If you just want to remove clutter, make them hidden. If you want your users to see that they're there, but they can't use it, you can do that as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this now. And again, the second I do this, it's going to go and update all of the roles for the users. All right, let's go see if this worked. We're going to open the journal screen, select the record we were editing before, and now you will see that the delete and the duplicate button are disabled, and that there is no post button. That's been hidden. You'll also see that the currency combo box is also hidden, and the fields kind of just resized automatically around that missing control. The description, I can view it, but it is also disabled. I can't make any changes to it. However, I can make changes to, let's say, the post date if I wanted to put a new date in. Now, we set the reverse date to be bypassed. So if you tab, you'll see it just jumped right over that one, right to the record number. And then I can get back down into the grid down here to make additional changes. So that's how the control permissions work in general. They're quite flexible. You can even hide tabs. Let's say you didn't want this activities tab or post history tab or this entire grid. You could hide that. You could do all kinds of things with the control permissions. It's quite in-depth and very vast. All right, let's close back out of here and select all of these and remove them and re-update our role one more time. Okay, that's successfully completed. Now I should be able to go back into the journal screen, open that same record, and everything should be available now. So you'll see the delete duplicates back there, the post button's available again, the description now I can type data in there, the currency field came back, everything's back to the way it is as if I never set any control permissions for this screen. Okay, the last thing we want to talk about is subroles. Subroles basically allow you to add or chain together multiple roles. So let's say you wanted to create smaller subset of roles. As you can see, this is so vast, it might make sense for you to set up a role for a specific module or maybe a group of modules, and then decide whether a user has access to one or more of those. And if they do, you could just chain together those roles. So this way it's much easier to do it instead of one large role. You can just select multiple subroles. So that's what the subroles does. As far as how you apply this to the users, let me go in and show you the user screen real fast. I'll bring up my user. And open it up. And when you come in, you're going to notice there's a user tab. You're going to click on the user tab. And in here, you will select the user role. So you'll see I was part of the admin. And you can select whatever role you want. And again, once you select a role for a user and you click Save, it's going to apply that role automatically to that particular user. There's also a User Roles tab. When you select this, it gives you the option to set up roles per location. So for example, if your users are going into specific locations and you want them to have different roles when they're at a different location, you can do that by coming into this drop-down and selecting those locations. And then you can pick whatever role you want. All right, I think that wraps up everything on the user roles. Thanks for watching.